the Miami Dolphins coming off a 70-point game where they have over 700 total yards. They're going to be, atop the record books right now. You have that type of aberration. And so they're averaging 43 points a game. They're averaging 550 yards a game. I mean, those are obviously ridiculous numbers that will not continue. But they obviously are playing good football. They're 3-0, and you have to give them props for putting 70 on a team that was this year they're horrendous defensively, but last year they were a top 10 defense. Shout out to Sean Payton for failing on that end for sure. But Rob, Kurt Warner, of course, the Hall of Fame quarterback from the greatest show on turf, that was the St. Louis Rams. He was, asked in an interview to compare these Miami Dolphins of Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Mike McDaniel, their coach, is doing a fantastic job. He was asked to compare them to the greatest show on turf, or is it fair to compare them? And here's what he said. We obviously had tremendous talent, and my skill set matched the skill set of my guys. We were very creative with how we did things offensively, even though the nature of how we throw the football is a little different from Miami. I think those similarities are very much there. Mike McDaniel does a great job of being creative with how he uses his skill players and getting them set up to play to their strengths. Tua, his anticipation, his accuracy is very much similar to mine, and their kind of aggressive nature to throw the football. And even though if they throw it in a different way, they're very explosive, just like we were very explosive. They were built on big plays and chunk plays, just like we were. It was just we probably threw the ball downfield more than they did. Rob, here's some of the records they had. The 70 points ties the second most points scored in a regular season game in the history of the league. The 726 total yards of offense, second most in a game all time. 1951, the Rams had 735. So they're averaging 8.5 yards, 8.4 yards per play this season, Rob. That's the most of any team in its first three games in the Super Bowl era. So what are your thoughts? I mean, is it premature, or do you see some similarities between them and that historic greatest show on turf?
Yeah, it's too soon for me. I'm always one that just takes time to, and I get it. Coming off the 70 points, it's hard not to look at them and go, oh, my God.
Right. You just look at the numbers, and people can't do that. You got to be smarter than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that could be.
They're averaging 43 a game.
Right.
Well, they scored 70.
They scored 70, so that's unseen. That's a crooked, crazy number. And they're explosive. We know that. We saw it last year in Baltimore. Remember, they came back from a big deficit. It was pretty impressive last year. And they've had some of those games. I got to admit, for the people, the way they talked about Tua and he couldn't play and let's draft another quarterback, man, a lot of people were wrong about him, Chris. A lot. But I'm not there yet. The Rams, not only did they do it for extended seasons, they won a Super Bowl. They also won. So you got to kind of do more than just put together a string of 3 games and a once-in-a-lifetime 70-point. Now, if they start hanging 70 points on people on a regular basis or 55 every week, Chris, now we got a different conversation.
Right.
I think
Which is just not going to happen.
It ain't going to happen. Yeah, right. I just think it's premature.
But like you said, if they were to somehow average 39.
Yeah, then you would look at it. Yeah. I mean, then you would say, okay, then because there are going to be some of those games where it goes the other way. So 3 games is just not a big enough sample size for me. It's a great start. Can't ignore them. Can't act like it hasn't happened. But I can't crown them.
Fantastic offensive team. There is no question about it. Mike McDaniel, Rob, he's a really good coach.
Is he black or white? I'm still trying to figure
he doesn't know that.
Oh, okay.
But he knows football. I think he's black.
I'm claiming him.
He's black. Yeah,
Whether
we claiming him.
Whether he
The
want to
NFL's glad we're claiming him too, because that helps their numbers
exactly. Whether he want to claim us or not, Chris, you know what I'm saying?
He said he's a human being. Thought about it.
No, he's a human being. Is that what he said?
I mean, that's great. We all human beings.
Yeah, he never thought about it.
That's hard to believe. I mean, look, I don't know. In America, I've thought about race. I'm just gonna keep it real as a black person. I've thought about race, I think, Rob, every single day of my life. In some way, shape, or form. And I'm not talking about it in a negative way, as a cloud
it's
hanging
a part
over my
of
head.
It's
okay.
Just
in some way, shape, or form, it's crossed my mind every day.
I just think that when you have guys like him and even like a Tiger Woods, how do you wash your face in the mirror and think you're not black? Or Mike Tirico. I'm dead serious.
Look, let's be
seriously.
fair.
I'm just saying,
black in America, it's different in different countries. Tiger Woods insane Cablinasian. I mean,
never heard of it.
That is everything he is. That's
never
a mix of what he is.
If it was 4:00 in the morning and he was standing outside an old white woman's window and she called the police, what would she say? There's a Cablinasian blah, 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 out there in front of me. No, she would say there's a black guy out in front of my. That's what she would say.
I agree. But if she saw me, she might say that's a white guy.
Well, but you're white, aren't you?
No, I ain't white.
Oh, okay.
I'm black. But that's my point. In America, it's a complex situation.
Not when you have black skin.
Well, it is. But I'm black.
When Tiger
and I'm defined as black. I don't just identify as black. My birth certificate says black.
Chris, when they
I've
arrested,
been black every day of my life. But I'm just telling you, in America, if people, there are many black people in America that if they were in South Africa, they'd be considered quote unquote colored. I'm saying there's white, colored, and black.
When you look on the Tiger Woods, I don't know if he was arrested or when the accident or whatever, I think he was arrested for DUI or whatever. They have a box of what they check. I'm just saying they didn't check what they checked black. That's
one thing I will say though, and both of my parents are black. All of my relatives I know, going back as far as I know. Great grandparents are black. But if you're a black person, or let's say one of your parents is white, it would be harder to deny that white blood that's in you. I will say that. You could choose you want to be black, and like you said, most people are going to see you as black, but there are some people who are so light that they could pass, or they could go say they're white, whatever. But I think it's harder for a person who has a parent of each race to just deny one of the races. Now, I'm not trying to defend him. I think he should just say he's black. I'm actually happy with the one drop rule. I mean, I got more than one drop, but I'm just saying I'm happy with that. I want to be black. I don't want to be nothing else. But I'm just saying if you got a parent that's white, it is probably harder to just completely deny that. But that's besides the point. We missed the whole
go
topic.
ahead. No.
But you know what I'm saying? But my point is this. Rob, greatest show on turf. And I think, look, like you said, I agree with you generally. It's too early to say that, compare him to that team that did it for a few years and won a Super Bowl. And, Rob, you also have to look at this. When they faced the New England Patriots, they've only played 3 games. They only scored 24 points. That's good, but they only scored 24. That's not like, high flying and all that. They won the game, give them credit. But the 70 points skews things a bit. And so that is what, I think you got to slow down a little bit before we compare them to the greatest show on turf. But I don't want to take anything away from them.
I get the excitement of it. You know what I mean? Right.
Their speed is ridiculous.
It's fun to watch.
They got second and third string running backs. And I said this, Rob, when people were saying they should go get Jonathan Taylor, I was like, they got some backs. Raheem, and I'm not saying they're as good as Jonathan Taylor, but they're really good, and they're a lot cheaper. And Raheem Mostert, we saw him, Rob. He helped San Francisco get to the Super Bowl. Very good running back. Devon A-Chan, that's how you say it. A-Chan, he corrected that after he ran for all those yards last week against Denver. He's nice, and he's got 4.3 speed. So they got some backs, but let's let it play out a little while before we compare them to the greatest show on turf.